Good morning, everyone, and welcome to Thoughts and Coffee this morning. Did I sound like the rest of the guy? I tried. I don't know. I didn't really sound like it, did it? Morning, Audrey. Hi. How are you doing? Oh, you're freezing on me. How you doing, Audrey? Good
I'm
morning.
freezing. You're freezing. Good
I'm
morning.
freezing. Oh well, we'll get through that. It's supposed to be nice and sunny today, so anyways, we've got a lot to cover in this episode of Thoughts and Coffee this morning. We are just very happy that you all could join us today. I think what we're going to do is we're going to kick off this morning and just talk a little bit about the upcoming events that we have coming up in the next week because they are super exciting, lots going on, and just want to make sure everybody kind of has an idea about it. So, this afternoon at 2 p.m. Eastern, I am going to be going live and also doing a webinar with Tessa about manufacturing, about how manufacturing is coming online and now what? What do we do? Right? Everybody's talking about globalization. Everybody's talking about carbon footprint. Everybody's talking about so many things around manufacturing. And it's just a matter of coming together and having a really good discussion about what we do next. And that's what's happening at 2 p.m. Eastern. We're going to be live on the Let's Talk Supply Chain page. Plus, we're going to be inside a webinar as well. I think we're going to be live on Let's Talk Supply Chain Twitter and the SC Supply Chain TV on YouTube, plus live on our Facebook page as well. So that's at 2 p.m. Eastern. I can't wait for that discussion. Hopefully Audrey's going to join us. I know you might have to do some work today, but
job or something.
Good morning, Debo, all the way from Panama.
Demo.
Yeah, I was able to do a catch up with him yesterday. That was a lot of fun. There's so many amazing things happening, and he's a great friend. So thanks for joining us from Panama. And what else do we have to talk about? I think, people are probably wondering why I'm wearing a superhero shirt today. I don't know if they can see it. It's Green Lantern. Why don't you tell everybody why I'm wearing a superhero shirt?
Well, next Friday is our latest episode of TGIF with Trade Squad, and we settled on a superhero theme. So we're talking supply chain superheroes. So when you join in next Friday, because you will, it's a must attend, wear your best superhero t-shirt and or paraphernalia. Like, feel free to go all out because it's TGIF. And that's what we're going to be talking about next Friday at 1 p.m. Eastern time.
Well, and it's like what a superhero means for you. So it doesn't necessarily have to be like DC Comics or Marvels or anything like that, but just wear something. Wear something that shows what a superhero actually means to you. And we're going to be talking about that theme. So just so everybody knows, that's over on Crowdcast. So if you go to Crowdcast and you search Trade Squad, you can actually join and register for our event next Friday, June 26th at 1 p.m. It's totally informal. We've got a great discussion that happens on the chat, and then we invite some people from the audience up onto the virtual stage to talk with us about the topics that we talk about that day. So it's a lot of fun. And we shoot some clips out to social media as well. Last but not least, before we get into these topics, I want to talk about Forge. So Forge Supply Chain one-day virtual supply chain conference is coming up on Thursday. So June 25th. It is jam-packed. Like, am I biased? I might be biased because I'm partnering with Procurement Foundry on this. But Audrey, what do you think? I think it's going to be a great day.
It is set up. I mean, the caliber of the speakers, the kind of virtual arrangement, the topics, the makerspace, like, it's got pretty much everything you'd want. And it's not, like a 5-day extravaganza. It's like one day, come in, get your knowledge, hear from some amazing speakers, and then, go on and change your supply chain life. So
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
you have
And
to
so
go.
AJ's in the background. So AJ, can you post the registration link for Forge up in maybe LinkedIn, so everybody can get that registration link and take a look at the agenda? I mean, we're starting off the day with an economist view
Yeah.
of what the next 18 months are going to look like from a business perspective. We've got the startup showcase. So we're showcasing 9 different startups in the afternoon. Irina Roska in the afternoon, she's talking about operations and customer service and how they can work together to win,
Yeah.
which is great. I mean, everybody knows I love collaboration.
Yeah.
What else have we got? I mean, I'm doing a keynote in the afternoon with the head of
Yeah.
global supply chain for Google, and Audrey's on an amazing panel about COVID, I believe, right?
Yep. Yeah. Resilience, COVID,
Resiliency.
shifting priorities. Yeah.
Yeah.
Digital, everything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Greg White from Supply Chain Now,
Amazing.
he's going to be moderating a panel discussion with Edible Arrangements and Papa John's as well about how the last mile has ramped up during COVID and how they've actually dealt with that, right? Because we've heard of so many different companies ramping up their e-commerce during COVID. And
Yeah.
it's such an important part of your business because it touches everything from supply chain to customer experience and marketing and all that kind of stuff. Hey, DC, so excited for you to join us
Yeah.
today. She is going to be moderating our
Yeah.
startup showcase at Forge in the afternoon on June 25th. So glad you could be here. Actually, I should do some more shout outs too, because we've got a lot of great people
There's
on
some
here.
people coming in.
Reza, Stacy
Yeah.
Roth, good morning. Wow, it's early for
Yeah.
you, but I'm so glad that you could join us because she's out in California. I'm actually, she's the founder of Woman in Logistics, and I'm going to be doing a panel discussion with them coming up. It's gonna be like none other that we've seen
Yeah.
lately. Rahul is there. Venka, he wants to talk about how can we save our Mother Earth with supply chain. That's a great topic. Yes, I think that we should talk about that on maybe an upcoming episode or something. We've got some people here from Algeria, so just want to say hi to everybody. Tim Ingram, thanks for joining us too. You are there. You want to talk about medical supply chain challenges abound in healthcare. Actually, so Irina is in biosciences, and her presentation in the afternoon at Forge is going to be talking about some parts of the medical supply chain. So if you want to join us at Forge, her session is in the afternoon, and I think you're really going to be able to have an interactive discussion with her there if you want to join us. So I think now, where do we go from here? We go to my thoughts and coffee post, I think, from Sunday.
Yeah, from Sunday.
Yeah, so and this one came to me like the day before. So sometimes I pre-write them. Sometimes I
You've
feel,
got this whole thing.
yeah, like or sometimes I just see how I feel like in the morning on Sunday, about what I want to talk about. And I just felt like I don't know about you, but I totally needed to let loose, but I didn't know I needed to let loose until I kind of let loose. And so on Saturday, I'm like walking on the treadmill, and instead of listening to my Audible book, I was listening to music. And I didn't realize how long it'd been since I'd like really listened to my playlist. And so I'm walking, and then these songs come on. I'm rocking it out. Like I'm just like, yeah, and I'm dancing while I'm walking on the treadmill. And I was like, you know what? I think everybody needs a little piece of this, don't you think? And if anybody, so I used a Grey's Anatomy reference, and that was because on Grey's Anatomy, everybody gets together when they're super stressed out and they all dance in the living room. Have you seen that?
Yeah. I think that if it happened in the first 3 seasons, I saw it. After that, I kind of stopped.
Yeah. I think it did happen. It's kind of been something that they've done like the whole way through the
whole
series.
thing. Yeah.
And it's not necessarily something that I've ever done, but on the treadmill on Saturday, I totally rocked it out like I was in Grey's Anatomy and needed to let loose. And then I started to think about music, and I started to think about, some of the time we have right now and how we could really listen to or get into new music, right? We're always kind of set in our ways and we listen to what we listen to. but I've
Yeah.
always been open to new music. And I think that it's a beautiful
Yeah.
thing because music is
Yeah.
just so important in everybody's lives. And so I started talking about soca because I've really,
Oh,
obviously, my husband and his
yeah.
family's background are from Trinidad. And so I've really gotten into soca the last
Yeah.
couple of years, and I just love it. Like the sun is shining, you're in the
Yeah.
car, and it's like island vibes, and you're just
Yeah.
dancing, you know? And so I wanted to share that with the LinkedIn
Yeah.
world because I just thought it was super, super important. What do you think? What is like, how do you let
Oh,
loose, or what's some new music that you've been listening to?
absolutely. Um, I've been doing these like kitchen dance parties. I'll take, I've got music on my phone and I'll have my headphones in because I've been talking on a call or having a meeting with my colleagues, and I'll just kind of put it onto my phone and put something up and just kind of absolutely shake it out and let loose.
Ah, I
And
love
I've
it.
been getting into, I've been listening like on repeat to like Bob Sinclair, because he's a DJ, and he was doing some live streams like when quarantine happened, like live from France, quarantine lockdown dance parties. So, kind of the dance, all the upbeat stuff, right? Because it's like with everything going on, you're kind of like, you know, I don't need like Elliott Smith right now. There's a time for Elliott Smith, but it's not right now. So yeah.
Akram, greetings from Casablanca.
Ooh,
Nice, nice, nice. I would like to
all right.
rise the subject about the complexity of flows, specifically in Africa. Actually, so that's a great topic. And there was somebody from our community that wrote an article about Africa, doing business in
Yeah,
Africa, supply chains in
yeah,
Africa. So if you go to letstalksupplychain.com under
yeah,
blog, you can go and check that out. You should be able to filter that by the categories and find that article, but it's really, really good. Tim Ingram, classic
yeah.
rock 70s.
Rock.
Yes.
Yes.
Well, I think that
Yeah.
I think that that's amazing. I love 70s,
Yeah.
80s. Like I don't know. I love all sorts
Yeah.
of music. But
Yeah.
if you're looking for something new, try some soca. A really good one that I keep, suggesting to everybody is Old and Gray by Patrice Roberts. It's a family, it's one that we really like as a family. So
Yeah.
go and check that out because it's just a lot of fun. It gets you in the mood to like
Yeah.
dance and just, enjoy the sunshine and enjoy life. So I'll
Yeah.
leave it at that one because we've only got 15 minutes left and we've got some
All
super
right.
heavy supply chain topics to cover, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
let's get into the first one. Where are we going to go
Mhm.
with this? I think we are going to go into trucking,
Yes.
and we're going to be talking about Nikola and Tesla are fighting it out over the future of trucking. This one is over on the hustle.co, I think it is. Let me just check
Yep.
that.
Yep.
Yeah,
It
the
is.
hustle.co. We'll put the link up there for everybody as at the end of this, or if AJ, you can capture that and put it up for everybody, that would be great. So, what did you think of this one when I sent it over to you?
It's so funny because it's like this guy, Nikola Tesla, is just, from, I don't know what period in history, like the 1880s or something. And he's like the hottest guy in like trucking and, with Musk is doing with the electric cars, and it's interesting, but it's another kind of, I don't know. It's another kind of dude doing trucking and, coming up in competition against, Tesla, which is sort of, if not in production or people aren't necessarily driving the trucks around, has certainly made this huge sort of, um, pervasive way into our culture and into the language that we're using in supply chain. So,
Yeah.
it's been an interesting journey.
So there was three things that really stuck out about this article for me.
Yeah.
One of them is the investment. So it
Oh,
says
because
Nikola's
that's
market value
crazy.
hit 34 billion at one point, and they haven't actually sold any trucks.
So anything. Yeah.
Like, let's just
That
let
and
that one.
that is so much our industry. Sometimes you hear of these sort of big investments and you're like, what have they done? I mean, I
Yeah.
guess you need startup money to get going, but
Yeah. I mean, on one hand,
yeah.
it's good for startups like me and ships
Yeah.
and,
Yeah.
let's talk supply chain because it shows that there's investment
Yeah.
out there and there's people that are really interested in our industry. But at the
That's
same
true.
time, it also kind of dilutes it with that kind of investment, and they haven't really sold any trucks.
Yeah.
And,
You start to
it's
worry about your
hard.
bubble.
Well, and it's hard for startups to get investment as it is, right?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
yeah, and then you see something like this and you're like, what do I have to do?
Mhm.
And then the second thing I liked was this last part that says imitation is the sincerest form of flattery, which is so true,
Mhm.
right? Too often
Mhm.
we look at competition, right? We look
Yes.
at each other as competition instead of looking at it from a viewpoint that there's enough to go around for everybody. Sure,
Absolutely.
somebody's going to win, but it doesn't mean that somebody's going to lose, right? It just means that somebody's going to
Yes.
have a little bit more market share than the other
Yeah.
person. And competition, is healthy, right?
Yeah.
But if you're going to imitate somebody, not so much. I mean, it is the sincerest form of flattery, but come on, we don't need to imitate each other, right? We just need
Yeah. We
to
can stand on our own,
we
sort
need
of
to be able
platform
to
or
stand
stand on
on
our
our
own
own,
experience.
especially with that kind of investment.
Absolutely. It's insane.
I know, it's crazy. It's crazy. So,
It's an
we've got
insane
Selva
number.
from India here and Danielle. Thanks for joining us. He says
Oh,
London in the
London.
house. Awesome. We're so glad for you to be here. Colin Russell, the infinite game of business. Isn't that
Mhm.
so true? Right? This
Mhm.
is the infinite game of business. But
Yeah.
at the same time, I think that things are changing a little bit. And I think we do need to stand on our own 2 feet and not
Yeah.
need to imitate people,
Yeah.
and have healthy competition. It doesn't need to be
Yes.
nasty competition.
Yeah.
We've got Christina from Barcelona and Reza coming at us from Iran. Thank you
Uh-huh.
so much for joining us today. How the logistics companies can support each other more than past, especially during pandemic situations through supply chain
Exactly.
services. I was talking to somebody about this the other day, and I can't remember
Yeah.
where it's going to be discussed. Oh, actually, it was
Might
with
be split.
Stacy Roth from Women in
Oh.
Logistics, and we're going to be talking about it in the on the panel discussion. I think we're aiming for the third week of July or the first week of August, but we're going to talk about how we need to come together as an industry, especially on the logistics side, in collaboration to really help each other through the pandemic.
Yes.
There's some people that are suffering, and businesses that are suffering, and how can we bring it all together, and what have they gone through, right? What are the stories behind
Yeah.
this? What have they gone through? How can we help? How can we collaborate to bring
Yeah.
each other up? So I think that that's a great point. And obviously, it's a great point because we're going to be talking about it on an upcoming panel discussion. So super, super excited about that. So now, what about this story? Supply chain
Yes.
median salaries 24% higher than national median. Gender gap narrows. I don't know about that.
Mhm.
I mean, when I read that, I was like, yes, is this really happening? And then I kind of read through it and I wasn't entirely sure. What do you think, Audrey?
Mhm. Yeah. And it's so these are numbers for the US. But it'd be interesting to see the data. Like I think it's coming through the last sort of 3 to 5 years, and people are kind of highlighting, just keep hammering home the gender wage gap. It's getting that data and actually having the conversation with your coworkers. Like we've so long been raised, it's like don't talk about money, don't talk about your salary. um,
Right.
but that's what leads to some of the unfairness, because what is the criteria, what are the metrics I need to meet in my job or in my position, what is the training that I might need, what are the deliverables, as we all call them. So this is fascinating. And if it's we're on this course where we're actually going to get this narrowed, I mean, that's a very exciting time. And it is such a dynamic industry. Like, you and I love this industry. We're passionate about this industry because it's interesting, it's dynamic. There's lots of different roles, there's lots of, opportunities.
Yeah.
So, I mean, this is just kind of reinforcing, why choose supply, right?
Yeah. Yeah. No, absolutely. And some of the numbers that really stuck out for me on
Yeah.
this article is 37% of the total supply chain workforce is female, and just 14% of senior vice president, executive vice president, and C suite positions are occupied by women.
Yeah.
And that's according to Ken Cottrell, the editorial director at the Massachusetts
Yeah.
Institute of Technology Center for Transportation and Logistics. And then it goes on to say some numbers from the Association for Supply Chain Management, which is ASM. Supply chain professionals with a bachelor's degree have a median salary of 78,000, 24% higher than the national median,
Nice.
according to a survey of almost
Yes.
2,500 US supply chain professionals, which I thought was pretty interesting,
Yeah.
right? So women are making up 37% of the workforce, which I didn't
Yeah.
think that it was that high. But
Yeah.
obviously the numbers don't lie. But 14% of the senior still isn't high enough, right?
Yeah.
Audrey?
And some, yeah.
Sorry, I think you froze on
Can you
me.
hear
I
me?
didn't know if you heard
Oh
me.
no. We froze again. What is with my Wi-Fi? No, it's something. So getting women into the C-suite is something that's a challenge, sort of across industries. And I think until we can address things like childcare, and sort of this mommy track, or some of the subtle ways that women sort of get, you know pushed over, until that changes, then we won't see that big increase in numbers that, I think all of us would like to see. Like making sure everyone has the opportunity to work in something that they love and really in a position where they can do their best, across the board, gender and all sorts of other ways that we kind of, work
Yeah.
in the world.
Yeah, exactly. Tim also makes a really good point. Bingo, they don't want discussions around pay for that very reason. On the other hand, you have to know your worth. Negotiations are paramount. I met my wife in logistics, probably the hardest working person I have ever met.
Yeah.
Aren't we all?
Yeah.
I mean, let's just take a look at
know.
what we do in logistics every single day. I think that, people in logistics are really the hardest
Yes,
working
Tim. Yes,
people.
they do.
And I think that you're completely right. I think we need to open discussions on everything. I think that
Yeah.
too long we've been, stuck in that place where we just don't talk about certain things, and we
Yes.
absolutely need to start talking about these things and
Yeah.
putting it out on the table. But I think he also makes another really good point, is that we need to know our worth. Right? You and I have these
Yes.
discussions all the time about knowing our worth. And, one day you might know your worth. The next day you might not feel so confident. So those are some of the barriers that even I have to get through, right?
Yes.
You have to get through.
Yeah.
We all kind
We
of
all
have to
do
get
it.
through.
Yeah. We all bring
Mhm.
certain things to the table, or certain expectations. And I think really, especially now that, during this pandemic, we're seeing so much work from home. So you don't have the same eyes on your coworkers being in the office. So you really have to understand what your company does, what the objectives of your company are, which team member does what work. And so I think we've had these perceptions going into work, and it's like, sometimes you have to give people a chance too. So you really have to understand what your projects are and what the work is, to be able to let someone have a chance and to succeed or fail or whatnot. But it's like, we, as humans, like, our brains compartmentalize, and it's like, oh, this is how I expect this to happen, or this is familiar to me, and so that's how I'll do things. And now is such a great opportunity to, like, what's familiar, what is comfortable, what is certain? Nothing. So let's go nuts and just, like, see what can happen.
Yeah, and we're going to talk about this coming up next week on the Trade Squad Social, just about the sheer number of people that are looking to go back to work, right?
Yeah.
And what you're not only knowing your worth from that standpoint, but also, knowing what you bring to the table, not only professionally, but personally, right? Because taking a look at it holistically, really understanding what you bring to the table, really understanding what the company is looking for. Because listen, guys, like, it's not necessary. It's about finding synergies in who you're going to be working with. You spend a lot of your time working for that company, and you really want to be able to enjoy it. So I would say that that, yeah, we've kind of, gone off track with that discussion. But I think that it's absolutely right. I think we definitely need more diversity in the senior levels, not just from a gender perspective, but obviously all around. And we need to know our worth, and we need to take a look at talent from a different perspective on both sides of the table, right? What do we bring to the table? What, like I said, personally and professionally. Anyways, because we only have 5 minutes left and we do have one more story to get to. Tim Ingram, logistics rule. I think over on LinkedIn, we've got a really great discussion because Colin is talking to Tim and saying, great point. I had a mentor that preached not settling. Yeah, brings me to a different point. Mentors are very important, and finding one can be very difficult. That is also a very, very good point. And it's not just about going up to somebody and asking, can you be my mentor? It's about establishing a relationship. Yeah, don't do that. It's about establishing.
No.
Stop it. I mean, you don't have to be that rude, but it's about establishing a relationship, going out of your way. I mean, I know in the past I've known some people that have gone and sat in the lobby for 2 or 3 days just to be able to, get in front of somebody that they want to get in front of. Now you can't really do that. So really engage with them. If they're, on social media and they're out there on social media, engage with them. Have conversations in the comments. Engage with the posts that they're doing. And, you can also get mentored just by engaging through social media, which is a really good point. But yes, you have to absolutely establish that relationship first, and then it will organically, I think, go into sort of that mentorship relationship. Don't you think?
Absolutely. Yeah. And it doesn't have to be, it's not like, oh, I pick one person and it's just me and this one person. I mean, it's a variety of different people. It's a variety of different experiences that you're looking for. And it's building that trust so that, when you have a question that you're like, you know what, I'm looking for guidance on this, then you can get that support. And then at the same time, when that person is, going along in their career, they're going to look to you for some guidance as well. I don't think it's the same sort of like, this sort of top-down relation. It's not quite like parent-child relationship, right? It's more of a peer-to-peer growth relationship. But I think people get very confused on it.
They do.
Right? What it actually is. And it's like there are people who are really top-level people. Like there's some like famous people we see, entrepreneurs and stuff like that. In this time, most of them are very accessible. So for you to have a question, you can pop it onto social media. You can get that high-level person like, hey, can you answer this question? And most of them will engage with you. Now, they might not create a whole relationship or have time to become your best friend. Fine. But I think it's more accessible than people think it is. And it's a variety of levels. It is not like this top-down singular person.
Yeah. And just do it, right? Just ask the question and see what happens. I mean, Gary Vee puts his phone number out there. I mean, pick up the phone and call him.
Yeah.
See what happens if you want him as a mentor. But you're right. It doesn't have to be like hours every single week or hours every single month or, different things like that. But I like that peer-to-peer. And actually, I was going to say, so Stacy has said a couple of things about integrity. So very important. Be yourself, be authentic, know your worth, treat people with respect and honesty, right? Have honest discussions with people because, they deserve it. Everybody deserves it, right? So I think that those are really great points. So right before we get into what's coming up on the show and before we wind this down, I want to just talk about, because I get a lot of questions about skills and what people need to be upskilling and looking at and all that kind of stuff in supply chain. So I thought this article was really cool. And again, we will have the links up in our social media so that you can go and check out these articles as well. But just quickly, inventory management, a top skill for 58% of supply chain pros. So if you're looking to upskill, if you're looking at where you should be taking a look at next in your career, go and take a look at inventory management. And so that kind of brings us to the end. I'm just going to quickly do a recap of this week for Let's Talk Supply Chain. So the episode this week is with McGregor Partners, Jason. He is talking all about partnership from a consulting standpoint, supply chain consulting for what you need on the technology side. So go and check that out. It's episode 120 under podcast at letstalksupplychain.com. The question of the week tomorrow morning on LinkedIn, Twitter, Instagram. What supply chain topics would you like to read or hear more about? That one's coming up. Think about it. Go and comment on Let's Talk Supply Chain LinkedIn page, because that is where I take the answers, and you will be featured on an upcoming episode. And then on Thursday, our Woman in Supply Chain blog is back, and we are featuring Sydney Badger. She is doing some amazing things in supply chain sustainability and fashion sustainability with Public Habit. So check that out. That comes out Thursday afternoon. I can't believe it. The 30 minutes goes by way too quickly when we're having fun, Audrey. Thanks so much for joining me again today. We hope everybody has a great day and a great week ahead. And we will see you, or I'll see you next Tuesday. Audrey will see you 2 Tuesdays from now. 2 Tuesdays. Thanks, everyone. See you later.
Thank you.